Well, do we have a gift for you? The Sports Hub is back. I'm your host, Cody Riedel, alongside Hub Sports writer Jason Ahrens. Jason, the winter sports season is in full swing.
It is. It looks like a winter wonderland out there indeed right now. And we've got some great basketball going on.
Yeah, we sure do. Let's not waste any more time and jump into the girls basketball action right now.
All right, we'll start with listing off some of the teams who are off to a quick start. We'll start in Class D2. You've got a couple of Fort Kearney Conference schools, Amherst and Loomis, both off to a quick start. Loomis, losing Katie Morton, Olivia Rodenbaugh, among others, off last year's team. And likewise, Amherst losing Shelby Hemman. Some real key pieces, but they're proving that they had depth and they were able to pick up where they kind of left off from last year. Loomis 5-1, I believe. Amherst 5-2 at this point in time. Loomis defeated Amherst earlier in the season. Jumping up a class to D1, you've got Arapahoe. They're off to a perfect start heading into Christmas break. The Warriors just won the Pleasanton pre-holiday tournament, a victory over Class C2 Ravenna. A real statement game for the Lady Warriors. Head coach Kip Stevens said that's a real stepping stone for the team, the toughest team they've played by far. He was very impressed with Ravenna's tough man-to-man defense. He thought they were well coached. That's Noah Lobby's team over there in Ravenna. And they looked good. I caught the tail end of that one. So they've got some height. Kalia Watson threw in 20 points in that victory over Ravenna. So the Warriors looking good heading into the new year. And also you've got Alma in D1. They are undefeated as well, 7-0. So they're looking very solid. A couple of salty D1 teams on the girls' side of things.
And then we're moving on down the list to C2.
Yeah, you've got Southern Valley. They're off to a 6-2 start. Ravenna, as already mentioned, they're 5-2. And then jumping up to C1, you've got Kearney Catholic. They're picking up right where they left off from the volleyball court. They're undefeated as well. They got a big victory over Ravenna earlier in the year. Among pretty much everyone else they played, they're stacked up and down the lineup. It seems like every night they've got 13 different girls in the scoring column. It doesn't seem to matter who gets the ball. Everyone can get the job done for the Stars.
Yeah, they've had big winning margins the last couple of games, so they look pretty strong.
Yep, and right there with them are the Minden Whippets. They are undefeated as well in C1, and they're an exciting team to watch. The Kissinger twins, Brooke and Jamie, they are a heck of a couple of ball players right there. Brooke hit 8 threes the other night in a big win over Boone Central. Of course, it wasn't the school record because she holds that with 9 previously done. So, and then Jamie Kissinger, she was, I think, 3 assists shy of a triple-double.
Oh, wow.
So, I don't think they match up in the schedule, but that would be a treat to see a postseason matchup between Kearney Catholic and Minden. Yeah, that's for sure.
Would be good. Moving on to Class B.
You've got Holdridge. They're undefeated right now. Looking good. They've reached the postseason 8 years in a row, and they're on track to make it to 9. And they've got a key matchup coming up in the holiday tournament, which we will talk about shortly.
And our lone Class A girls team, the Kearney High Bearcats.
That's right, and they are off to a good start, I believe. Let's see here. It is 5-3. Yes, and they are nearly going to match their total wins from last season before we even hit the Christmas break. Jason Boyd is very impressed with the improvement of his team. Overall, it comes down to experience for Kearney High, and they've learned to become a lot more competitive in each game they are in. So
good to hear these girls' Hub Territory teams are playing so well so far. Let's move over to the boys' side of things. And how are teams looking so far?
Well, we've got some up, some down. That's the way it always is.
It's got to go that way.
That's right. Starting with Bertrand in D2, they are 7-1 on the year. Their only loss coming in the Pleasanton pre-holiday tournament to Ravenna, but they're off to a quick start this season. Amherst, they're 5-2 as well in the D2 ranks. Moving on up to D1, you've got Arapahoe. They're 6-2. Both girls and boys having solid years so far. As mentioned, they lost to Ravenna in the championship game of the Pleasanton Holiday Tournament. They've got a solid team, some good post play from Gage Schutz and Wyatt Anderson down low, which always helps to have guys who can score down low and rebound the basketball. Loop City, another team carrying over success from the football season. They are off to a 6-2 start on the basketball court as well. And then Shelton, they're 5-1. Alma, they're 5-2. Overton 4-2, Wilcox Hildreth 4-2. So we've got a lot of good-looking teams so far in Class D1.
Moving on to Class C2, got a few teams there.
Yep, Southern Valley, they're off to a 6-1 start. They had a fairly successful year last year, and they're building off that again this season. And then Ravenna, they're 3-3, of course, coming off their unbeaten season from last year. Lost pretty much everyone, so they only had a couple guys back with experience, but I think head coach Paul Veronic was very pleased with the team's performance at the Pleasanton Holiday Tournament. Of course, they won that 2 games in a row. They had to battle to win both. He said, you know, we could have been 1-5, but here we are, happy to be 3-3 heading into break. And those guys, they definitely earned those victories. You can see they're building confidence as each game progresses. I saw them earlier in the year as they took a loss to Gibbon. They looked already like a much different, more confident team in that Pleasanton tournament.
All right, and then moving down to Class C1, you got undefeated Kearney Catholic sitting there.
Yep. What else can you say? It's been a great year for Kearney Catholic athletics. The boys undefeated. They've got a bunch of depth, you know, to come off the bench. They've got guys who can score. They like to run and gun. That's their style of play, tough defense, and they really haven't been challenged too tough up to this point in the season. And then Gibbon, they're off to a nice 4-1 start. They got a little bit of scare, as I already mentioned, from Ravenna earlier in the year, but they're a solid team that I think has a lot of potential. They looked very good last year, and this year I think it's putting the pieces together, and they shot great free throws. I think it was 29 for 34 and that win against Ravenna earlier in the year. So if they continue to shoot free throws well and they can shoot a high percentage from the floor, there's not a single team who's going to get an easy win over them, that's for sure. And then Cozad, they have 4 wins on the season as well. They're looking pretty solid. They've given Brady their only loss this season to this point.
All right, finally we got Class A, Kearney High boys. How are they looking so far this year?
They're off to a solid 5-3 start. Of course, they had to replace a few guys off last year's team. They're short. Let's not make any ifs, ands, or buts about it. But they make up for that with their tough play. They're very physical. They have tough defense. Defense was the key to their victory over Grand Island a few days back. And they like to shoot the 3. That's for sure. They can light it up. And so Kearney High is the type of team where if they put it all together in one game, again, they're a team that's going to be very hard to beat. Coach Scott Steinbrook's got them coached up very well, and they're going to compete night in and night out. If there's one word I could say about Kearney High, is that they're competitors.
Alrighty, well, good deal. It's good to hear that all these teams are performing so well at the beginning of the season. Let's talk about what we have to look forward to after the Christmas break from these teams, and there's some holiday tournaments, some conference tournaments coming up as well.
Yeah, we've got a bunch of holiday tournaments over this break, starting with a conference tournament rather. The GNAC, Kearney and Lex will be playing there. Of course, Kearney and Lexington girls get a rematch for that, and the Kearney High boys will be taking on Norfolk. And then there are some pretty high caliber matchups going on at some holiday tournaments. Starting at Silver Lake, you've got the Shelton boys 5-1 taking on Bruning, Davenport, Shickley at 6-1. Alma is also at that tournament, and if they win, they would play the winner of Shelton BDS. So a couple good matchups there. At the Amherst Holiday Tournament, you've got Kearney Catholic and North Platte St. Pat's. A couple of teams always good. Already mentioned the Stars, both undefeated. I believe the the North Platte St. Pat's girls are undefeated as well, and I think the boys just have 1 loss. So a couple nice first-round matchups there. At the Ravenna Holiday Tournament, you've got Ravenna taking on Overton in the first round for both boys and girls. Loop City also in attendance there. The York Tournament, Cozad, they've got 4 wins on the season. They'll be taking on York. They also have 4 wins on the year. And then the Northwest, Grand Island Northwest Tournament, this could potentially be a very big game. Seward, who recently had their 104-game winning streak snapped by Lincoln Pius, they'll be taking on undefeated Holdridge girls. So the girls matchup we're talking about here. So, you know, if Holdridge can stick in this one and pull out a victory, what a confidence booster this could be for the Dusters.
Well, and we can't forget our other prep athletes who aren't competing on the basketball court. Those would be those wrestlers in the Hub territory. Last Saturday, Kearney High Bearcats finished 4th in the Flatwater Fracas, if I say that correctly. Grand Island ending up winning the Fracas. Grand Island's kind of had Kearney High's number on the wrestling mat, Grand Island being the 4-time state champion in wrestling. And then Amherst coming off state championship, is picking up right where they left off, winning the Sutherland Invitational over Maxwell. Maxwell was second in the Sutherland Invitational. And then over in the Fran Jorgensen Invitational in Cambridge, Loomis Bertrand won the Invitational. Minden was not too far behind, got second in the Invitational. And then Lexington and Cozad also finished 1-2 in the Sydney Invitational. And speaking of wrestling, how about those Lopers?
Yep, ranked #1 nationally, kind of undisputed, looking good as usual for the Loper wrestling crew. And then also on the basketball court for those guys, tough couple games here for the UNK men, losing back-to-back games to Doane and then Hastings College, their second loss to Hastings of the year. So they're hopefully gonna get back to work and try to figure some things out to get back in the winning column. And also you've got the Lady Lopers. They opened up MIAA play with a convincing win over Lincoln University. So congratulations to those girls. And also we'll see how they can fare moving forward into the meat of the schedule here down the road.
Yeah, both the men and women going into the heart of the MIAA schedule after the Christmas holiday. So, well, Jason, that's our show for today. It's a wrap, just like a Christmas present. Thank you for stopping by. Make sure you check the Kearney Hub print edition for your sports headlines. Check kearneyhub.com for breaking news, and check the Sports Hub blog for random posts from Jason, I, and our sports editor, Buck Mahoney. So have a Merry Christmas, and we'll see you down the road. Well, hello. I didn't know what I wanted to say after that. Well, hello.